Alrighty, good morning. Welcome to this morning, Tuesday the 20th webinar on digital asset management for retail marketplace. Okay then, let's just do a little bit of housekeeping to start off with. Now then, everybody should be able to hear me okay, so I'll just send out a message there to make sure that everybody can hear. You should have my screen. I'm just displaying the presentation only for the period of this webinar. Now then, on the GoToMeeting panel on the left-hand side, you will see that there is a question section. You can put in a question and you can send that out either to myself or to a particular attendee. Please send them to myself, and I'll answer those questions as they come in. We should be running for around about 30-35 minutes, not intending for this webinar to go for too long this morning. I can see that we've still got quite a few people dropping in to the webinar, so that's really good. Okay then. Okay, and I think most people are here. Quite a well responded to webinar, this one. We're still looking at the one on deployment opportunities that we did earlier this year. Still has been our most popular webinar of the series, the 2016 series. We'll be running another webinar probably later in October. I'm off to the Canto Big Dam Summit next week. We'll be seeing all of the latest and greatest there. When I get back, we'll probably be running one on Flight, the most recent update to Flight, the LA release. That will be the webinar for October. Then we'll be looking at doing a few more webinars before Christmas time. Okay, so everybody seems to be here, so I'll start now. During the webinar, I said just please ask questions. For those people who just dropped in, you can see in the GoToWebinar control panel there is a question area. Please ask questions as we go along. The presentation, I am recording it, that's good. The presentation we will put up online afterwards, so you will get access to the recording of the webinar. Okay, now then, I think everybody knows who I am. It's Ricky here from DataBasics. I know most of the people personally here, and the retail marketplace has been a real boon for us in digital asset management. Of the last half a dozen odd customers that we've taken up in the past 6 months or so, about 3 or 4 of them have all been retail. We're doing retail from everywhere from what I would call quite reasonable sized Australian brands who take on medium-sized, conservative solutions, but they're looking at building those solutions over time, to some of our largest deployments to date have been out to people in the retail marketplace. So let's have a look at what the content of this presentation is going to be. It's all going to be slides. I'm going to be talking about it. It's not a product bash specifically. It's really just going to be focusing in on 3 sort of areas that I summed up, mainly looking at what are the objectives of a retail organization wanting to take on a digital asset management solution, the type of solutions that we're providing for people, what are the cornerstones of those solutions, and then what are some of the particular challenges that we find in retail marketplace that distinguishes it from other marketplaces that we put a digital asset management solution into. With the Cumulus solution in Australia, DataBasics, we've got well in excess of 100 customers, and our retail would probably make up a good 20% of that marketplace, growing, as I said before. Very spread across other marketplaces, but the big distinguishing feature about retail is that it does offer some very unique challenges that we have to address. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the real objectives that we find in organizations taking on digital asset management in retail. So the first thing that people are really wanting to address are efficiencies. So, it sums up in a simple phrase here. They want to lower the cost of doing business. And one of the ways that they lower the cost of doing business is they take their existing marketing team, their designers, their graphic artists, the people creating the collateral, and they want to be able to have those people address a wider marketplace without increasing their existing marketing resources. Essentially, they want to sell more product by pushing it out to more channels, to often taking on new ranges of products. Maybe they're consolidating with some other vendors. Maybe they're in a group of organizations and they want to have a centralized marketing team doing the marketing for multiple different brands within their group. But essentially, it all comes down to lowering the cost of doing business. Often, we see people calculating, what it costs them to sell a product off their shelves, and a part of that calculation is going back to what is the marketing cost associated with it. It does depend, of course, for fast-moving goods. Of course, you can't do that because they're typically low price, so it's very difficult to calculate that. But for larger priced items, that is a calculation we see people do on a regular basis. As a part of increasing how much output is delivered, we want to reduce errors. Essentially, we don't want to increase errors as we increase output. We want to reduce errors, increase the output, reduce the errors, and therefore deliver a more consistent and more accurate message to our users, and reduce any of the operational costs involved with producing errors, which in the retail marketplace, errors can produce to such things like having to sell products at lower price at point of sale if you've got an inconsistent marketing message. I mentioned it before, what we often want to do is deliver a message across a whole range of different product lines. Maybe this is a consolidation of marketing teams that have previously dealt with individual product lines, now being pulled up into a overarching organization and having those marketing teams in a consolidated fashion pushing out more content across different portfolios. It can also be to subsidiaries, so you might have different regional subsidiaries and you want to have one central marketing team channeling content going out to those different regions, or it can be across different brand names, retailers. It's all got to do with the actual retail channel. So essentially, we want to do more for very often less. Now, one of the key things with retail in the 21st century is looking at multi-channel marketing. Essentially, we want to, as said in the previous slide, we want to be able to push out across all of these different multiple channels. We want to be creating media once and repurposing that for all of the different channels. Those channels typically are going to range across all of the typical print, digital, social media being one of the uprising or very keenly addressed marketplaces or channels that people want to particularly leverage with the DAM system. And a lot of this has got to do with the very spontaneity of digital assets themselves, media itself. So you want to put out eye-catching material. If you put it out to different channels, what you want to do is have people take notice of that content that you're putting out there, and that requires that you have very compelling media. You need to have a consistent message. One of the things that we get a lot of customers coming back to us and really raising as a major issue is that if they don't deliver a consistent message across the different channels, they really lose customers. It's an important part of getting across customer support, loyalty, and getting people to go to the point of retail is giving them a consistent message. Going out to different websites, a very typical thing we see with lots of retailers. The numbers cited by people can often be 10 or above, but the challenges or the outcome of putting in a DAM system can often be currently a retailer is working with a range of geographical separated areas. and they each run their own website graphic teams, and they want to coordinate that back into their centralized marketing team, and they want that marketing team to be able to push out content into all of these different websites and basically lose having regional website teams repurposing the content, because that's just a real waste of a lot of time, a lot of money, slows down the delivery of the message and makes the message inconsistent. So they want to often target these different websites. And besides the different websites, also delivering to their different retail channel. So whether they be wholesalers, retailers, or whether it's going out to a public e-commerce system, that's another important point for most people in the retail market wanting to pick up a DAM system, is being able to better fulfill the needs of their retail channel. And often they're getting people come back to them and asking them for more. And it's often written into the contracts that they have to be able to provide more media in a timely manner, and it has to have accurate metadata associated with it as well. All right, okay, customer engagement. So this is something that we see, quite a few people picking up on, and it's very much a 21st century thing. It's not the product that is going to primarily sell. It is the customer loyalty. It's a very highly competitive marketplace, any retail marketplace. If you can raise customer loyalty, and that is one of the main objectives of your marketing team, and they're going to implement new solutions like a DAM to raise customer loyalty, that is going to raise profits, and it's going to do it at a no additional cost, because essentially by having a better customer engagement, you make more sales without having to put more effort into the sales process, so you raise profitability. And as a key thing, as mentioned in the last slide, we want to have improved data quality. We need that consistent message. The information going out to people has also got to be highly consumable. I've mentioned in this slide the readability of the content. It's basically not got to do people's heads in. They've got to be able to read the content, and they've got to be able to benefit from it, and they've got to enjoy the process. And it's got a lot to do with the previous points that we've been making. And it's got to raise the outcome of the marketing team's effort by improving the response of their targeted audience to the media that you are delivering. Now then, the last 2 points there, and this is a real big issue here. Everybody's into bring your own device, so we've got to have a device independent platform with a lot of different websites. That's relatively simple. Once we get into digital assets, media, it gets more complex. Images, it's fairly straightforward. Once we get into some of the more multimedia type of content, such as video, then when we get into playing on different devices and global distribution, we really start to look at a whole range of technology that's going to support that. And that is often key to people's ability to raise their profile with their customers. Okay, now we're going to move into what sort of solutions are we really providing to people out there? What is the cornerstone of a DAM for a retail organisation as opposed to a DAM for anybody else? So one of the key things that really separates out DAM in a retail environment is how it integrates into the retailer's environment. And this is really key. You are not going to be able to successfully deploy a DAM into a retailer as an island of information. It's just not going to work. There's just too much extra information that needs to be pulled out from other sources, typically an ERP. So you're going to have product information being come in from a whole wide range of different systems, whether that's a fairly standard overnight batch process or whether you want to have a interactive pull of media out of the ERP across into the DAM as assets are uploaded. It really varies. Most people go for like an overnight batch. Typically the ERP is not being updated in a way that requires you to do daily pulls of information. An overnight pull is fine. But that is what populates most of the metadata that is going to be in the DAM. So one system that we've done recently, they are the images have got I think it's a SKU in their case, as a part of the file name. It's their initial process. That's going to be uploaded into the DAM. We're going to pull the ERP information, match that to the SKUs. That's going to populate all of the information going into the DAM, and then their marketing team really consume the content off into their various forms of collateral and their different channels. And that makes it really efficient. There's nobody going to be in that organization bashing away at a keyboard entering metadata. And that's what's really important to this organization and for many other retailers. Typically with retailers, you'll see that there are many, many different images, and it's just not practical at all to be entering metadata on the fly. It's really got to be automated. Going out to some of the channels, e-commerce is obviously one of the objectives here, whether we're going to do that off the website or whether we're going to do it through a whole range of other different processes. It's really important, as people will want to see the product before they buy in an e-commerce environment, because once you're on the web, one of the simple defining factors is what you see is what you're going to get at the end of the day. So the imagery becomes really important. They're not standing in a store, so they can't talk to somebody about something. It's got to all come from the imagery on the website. So pushing content out from the DAM to the website, the e-commerce site, is really important. Now then, product information management, and what is a PIM? And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. It's going to be, you'll see it, a theme that will pop up all the way through the next couple of slides. But in essence, a DAM for many retailers is a very important part of a PIM. And whether an organization has a defined PIM product or whether they really have a PIM concept, and it's really an aggregate of different solutions being used as a PIM, the DAM is going to play an important part of that. Other avenues for output from the DAM include point of sale. We see a lot of imagery going out into the ticketing of goods on the shelf. Then in the actual logistical delivery of content, whether it's in shipping, people want to see the images of the product through the shipping process, and often through returns. It's very pragmatic type of access to imagery, often used to correctly identify different items. Okay, so this point here, and this is the bit that ties back into what is a PIM. And you can see it's a quote there from, I was in a conference last year, and there's a chappie from Riddle, and it's the standard sort of thing that many people in a retail organisation come and talk to us about. Essentially, they've got stuff splattered all over the place. For them to put together a catalogue is a process of first aggregating images from a whole wide range of different locations, flashing through a whole lot of product information to try and get it right, putting it into a format, pushing it out, and going through a lengthy approval process because of the ad hoc nature that it was all compiled. And the next time they do the catalogue, the next month, they go through the same process, often correcting the same text, the same images again and again. Whereas now, if you move all of that into a centralized process, so you've got a centralized DAM essentially, you can go back to that central DAM, and that DAM can be for the people creating a lot of the media output, such as a catalogue. It can be their central location for all product-related information. Now then, I've mentioned a catalogue there, but it can be other information going out to people. So any staff member might also want to see the various data sheets attached with the product or associated collateral, and of course, as I mentioned before, video and audio, multimedia channels. It becomes a increasingly important part of consistency within the dam to be able to deliver a whole wide range of different file types. Now, you want to make secure access to the content as well, security and also permission. So, and this has got to do with the RAISE ease of access and ease of use, is that when somebody comes in and gets some information out of the dam, they want to be sure they're not only getting the right information, but they should also have access to that information. If somebody's going to use an image as a part of a big product launch, we want to be sure that nobody else has access to that content. So you don't have to go around and ask or make a request to see if you can use an image. You only get access to the stuff that you should have access. And that, of course, is going to reduce your failures, and it's going to make the message, again, as stated before, it's going to raise the consistency of the marketing message. Now, this gets back to what is a PIM, and a product information system. As said, that there are organisations selling defined PIM solutions, but we don't actually see many organisations having them. What we see, the most typical thing in retailers is they have a concept of a PIM, and a PIM is going to be several different solutions integrated together, providing one central source of information or to a group of users, maybe, as I ask retailers all the time, do you have a central source of information, or do you have 3 or 4? Most typically, people looking to improve their systems, I typically see have either side of 10 currently. And they've got an objective to reduce that down to 4 or 6. And there's a good reason why, is that different people within the organisation, or if they're in a distributed organisation, different areas of the organisation operate through one particular system. So people are going to be coming in through the ERP for a lot of their information, for example. The designers are going to be coming in through the DAM. So you've got to pick the right system for your right audience of people. So, very often a PIM, it's very difficult to have a single PIM for everybody, but it's more like having a group of applications that are highly integrated, and a digital asset management solution is going to be a very important part of that PIM strategy. Now, once you've got all of your content gathered together, everybody can access it. They're accessing the right content at the right time. What we want to do is start making sure that people do have access. We've got to make the distribution of that content very effective. So this can be between ranges of different branches within your one organisation. It's fairly regular for us to find that people have got multiple different geographically separated offices that they need to be having access to their content. And then they've got they exist within a whole ecosphere of different organisations, everywhere from suppliers to their retail outlets. And these people all need to have access to that content. So again, distribution of the content, and it can be two ways. So often the suppliers are uploading content, and the retail channel is downloading content. It's the very nature of the retail chain that an organisation is involved in, but everybody's going to need to have access to that content, and it needs to be in a very distributed model. Now then, and it's quite interesting. In Australia, particularly in Australia, people are making a big reach out to a global network. It's quite surprising, I find, but virtually every retailer that we deal with has a global direction, whether that's just simply within our close region of Oceania out to, say, New Zealand or Singapore or something like that. But very often organisations are going out to the Americas or Europe and other locations. So having that global access becomes very important. And when you start looking at aggregating all of the different media types together, you've got to start looking at how that's going to work on a global scale. Images, again, are fairly simple. Once you get into video, it is not simple. You've really got to look at some of the hybrid solutions that you can bolt onto a DAM. something like using a content delivery network, a CDN, so that the video will play and will be at a high level of user experience globally, and that is quite a important angle for many people with their DAM. And again, BYOD, it's the rule of the 21st century. All of this has got to work on different devices. Images, simple. Media, like videos, complex. And now then, how is a lot of people really going to be using that marketing material? When you look at the in-house usage in a retail organisation, the biggest usage is going to be out to their marketing team. These are people that are most frequently going to be using the Adobe products in one form or another. They're going to be creating complex layouts, and these complex layouts are a very distinguishing feature of a retail organisation as opposed to any other agency. It's not single-page stuff. We're talking about multi-page catalogues. We're talking about 40, 50, 100 pages in a catalogue, recurring on a regular basis, like monthly, each page having anywhere from 6 to a dozen images. All of the product information associated with those images have got to be correctly tagged onto the image. They've got to reduce the errors in doing that. And this is a big challenge for many organisations, creating those catalogues. And you want those catalogues to be multifunctional. They're not only a print version, but also a web version, so people can download it or see the catalogue, on a web page. So, all of this, harks back to some of the initial points that I made, that we've got to raise consistency and reduce errors, and we've got to push out more content through to more channels. And it's going to come from the marketing team, the in-house marketing team. And as said, a lot of organisations want to leverage their in-house abilities, mainly because their team understands their product better and can deliver the message better from a centralised location than having a dispersed team in multiple different locations. In the latter case, you go through a whole process of just keeping people updated onto what is the most recent product that we want to feature on the website, whereas if you've got it all running from a centralised team, delivering that message and having that consistency, that approach to the current offers being made is a much simpler process. Now then, the next section, we're going to just go through 3 slides, and this is some of the challenges that my company DataBasics has had when we deliver DAM into retail. The first issue that we have, and this I was actually talking to somebody just last week, a friend of mine, and I was talking through the slides, and I was saying, what do you reckon of this? And I put this one up, and he burst out laughing. He says, yeah, he's been with the organisation that he works with now for about 6 or 7 years, and they still haven't sorted this out themselves. It's one of the biggest issues, the nomenclature that goes along with what they actually have. Do they have products? Do they have articles? Are they identified by a SKU, a UPC code? Are the products single items, or are they associated? Do you always have twin packs of a product? Is the twin pack separate from the single pack? Is a 500 quantity separate from a 250 quantity? All very complex questions for a retailer. Essentially, when we look at it from a DAM point of view, it comes down to the imagery. And it's sort of one of almost the limitations of a DAM in a retail organisation, as far as whether it can be the central point of all information, the source of truth, is how complex is the association between an image and the information that goes along with that image. If you've got a very simple match, one image, one product, one set of information, you can pretty much have a simple match up of your content into a DAM, and that's going to work very fluidly for you. It's not going to have a lot of issues. If you've got some of those variations there, so you might have a jumper and it comes in 6 colors and 4 sizes, you really don't want to have 24 records in your DAM because you probably don't have 24 images in all of the 4 different colors and 6 sizes or whatever it was. You'll probably have one image and it'll be a group shot of showing the jumper in all of the different colors, but the metadata going along with that will be varied for all of the different products and color combinations, and they'll all be identified as a different article. And when you go to choosing that content to make up a particular offer or a catalog, and you look at factors such as the availability or the pricing, it immediately gets very complex, right? And perhaps out of the league of a DAM system to be a single source of truth. And that's where we typically say, realistically, a DAM is going to be a part of your PIM. You're still going to need your ERP for all of those different product variations, for all of the matching metadata that comes along with them, as well as things like stock availability and everything else that goes into the process of making an offer. Grouping of products, really complex. Again, my friend that I was talking to last week said, look, marketing a group of products is probably simpler than marketing an individual product. And I've heard that said many times before. And it has to do with what actually gets sold at the end of the day, or what is the main concept within an organization of selling a product. You know, like if you look at a car retailer, you know, an actual car that goes out to you might be made up of 100 odd different products. It's got seats, it's got steering wheels, it's got everything else, but you go to a car shop and you buy a car. You know, so it's quite a complex issue, and often the group of products is the thing that people have in their mind when they think about what is the thing that's being sold. Okay, now then, the last 2 slides, very intimately associated, is that when you go and then create a marketing campaign, what are you campaigning? What is the point of the what is your draw card? Are you making a sale offer? Are you making a promotion? Are you advertising a new product range? Are you going to want to limit what you're marketing based upon availability of stock? Do you want to ensure that you've got enough marketing material, like imagery, of different product ranges before you start delivering the campaign? Very, very often, we see people that they may first get a spreadsheet from, say, the product buyers or the people creating a campaign. It's going to have a list of SKUs, and the first thing they need to do is run a report in their DAM and see over the next 3 months whether they've got enough marketing material, imagery, associated with that content, and say if there's a change, say like in seasons or themes, do they have that imagery matched up to all of those themes? So that's an important part of what they need to do, and it's really got a lot to do with the business intelligence, and you're only going to have that business intelligence with a DAM system. If you're back to an organization with imagery scattered all over the place and somebody says, do we have enough images to fulfill a product catalog that's going to be the summer season next month, and this is a list of SKUs, you're not going to have an answer. There's going to be nothing that you can do. The only way you're going to have that business intelligence is with the DAM, and it's often one of the key drivers that attract high-level executives in a retail organization to get a DAM. Okay, just wrapping up here. Now then, this one is an interesting one, and it's one that probably, the first time you go out and try to implement a DAM in a retail organization, you'll stumble up against, is that you've really got to look at the different ways of activity within a retail organization. It is going to determine when you can deploy a solution or not, because people are just during set periods of years. So we're at the end of September now, I would say for the next October, November, most of the retailers that I know are going to be very focused on their Christmas catalogues. So you're not going to be able to do much with people over that period of time. You know, it is a good time of the year for other activities. You know, so you've got to look at what are the waves of activity within a retailer associated with the seasonal nature, or maybe it's all based upon product releases, offers, right? So some organisations, they're really driven by how they innovate and release new product ranges. So, you know, you've really got to look at those different peaks and troughs, as I've called them there. And you've got to look at how your content has got to be available. Essentially, during the troughs, you've got to make sure that you're aggregating enough content so when you hit the next peak, you've got all of the information there ready to go to start using. Because during those peaks of activity, the marketing team will not have any time to go and start collecting more digital content. And that's often what holds people back now. They've got a new activity happening in say, December, like another retailer I was talking about. They were doing some stuff with the Paralympics, right? So if some of the people that they've promoted as ambassadors, I think they were calling them, come back with a gold medal, I'm sure they want to get that out into their collateral as soon as possible. So, you know, how quickly can they bring that material together? You know, that's a peak that is maybe pushed onto them via an external factor, but they're going to want to address that. Do they have enough marketing material to support that? Can they be responsive to those needs? Alrighty, okay, so that's roughly some of our experiences that we have in retail with DAM, everywhere from looking at why people in a retail organisations want to bring in a DAM solution, what are some of the cornerstones of how a DAM should work for a retailer, and some of the particular challenges that we have experienced. You know, as you can see here, you know, we are yet to see a retailer that has not benefited incredibly from having a DAM. Everywhere from small, medium-sized retailers onwards, we see very little. In fact, I can't think of any of our solutions that have been a failure. You know, even those that have been perhaps delivered in an under-resourced environment, which is often a challenge because people don't have an understanding of the big picture. Even those have been of great benefit to any retailer. And you can see some of the help that this is going to provide staff, you know, agencies you work with, all the partners, and it's all got to do with, you know, as I said back at the beginning of the presentation, driving more business whilst not having to fund greater amounts of resources for the marketing team. Okay, now you guys, you've been a great audience. I can see just about everybody's still online here. I haven't actually seen any questions come through. Now then, oh yep, just, okay, yes, I thought somebody would be asking me that. Right, where are we? Back to PIM. Yeah, it's a big topic. You know, and this is, you know, what we said pretty much over here, having a central platform and having that as a part of your strategy. I can see your point. There's not much differentiation from a PIN to having a central platform for all product information. I can see that. Yes, you point that out to me. And that's sort of what I'm saying here, is that DAM, because it does provide you that central platform, is destined to become a part of your PIM strategy, whether you have a PIM or whether you just have a collection of different products. Now then, back down to the end there. So thank you again. You know, keep in contact with DataBasics. You can see all of our different ways that you can be involved with us. Again, thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you. Bye.